Eddie Buchanan, we're back at the Symposium in the Sun in Clearwater Beach, Florida. We're having a great day of classroom sessions where everybody breaks out into classrooms and you get to spend some time working on the topic that you're specifically interested in. And I'm joined now with my good friend, Deputy Assistant Chief Frank Leeb from FDNY. Frank, thank you for being here, my friend.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
So I think, the first thing we got to talk about is that book, man.
Yeah.
Frank just released a book. If you just came to this planet and you're unaware of it, he's got a great leadership book that came out, and I'm seeing it everywhere. How's that going?
Cornerstones of leadership on and off the fireground, training, teamwork, and mentorship. It's been, I tell you what, Ed, it's been overwhelming how well received it has been, not just in the fire service, but even outside the fire service, because leadership principles really are timeless and they transcend occupation. Right. So that's what I've been seeing, is that people are really liking it. They read it, they share it, and then when they share it outside the fire service, it's pretty cool seeing some of the comments that that people are giving me about that. So, and the book is really, so when you think about leadership, it's largely about, and it doesn't say it, but it's largely about those soft skills. So think about in your career those leaders that you've had that. When you talk about the hard skills, right, the tactical skills, they're brilliant. They're brilliant at the basics, but then they lack those soft skills that really, that's the complete leader. It has the ability to combine both of those. And that's really what the book is really about. It's about how to treat people, as Alan Brunacini would say, be nice, right, and just all those things. You think about those leaders that I would follow them anywhere in a fire, but boy, working with them in the way, right, they have no bedside manners, they don't know how to treat people, and this talks a lot about those with some very interesting experiences that I've had in my career.
That's amazing, and this has been a theme at the conference this year. It's been leadership is a challenge, and it's very difficult when you have, like you said, the greatest tactician in the world, but if they're just a piece of work at the firehouse, man, it can drive away quality people, even in a volunteer setting.
Leadership matters. It doesn't matter what organization, leadership matters. We need direction from our leaders, and we need a standard. We need to be held to a standard. We need accountability. Like, all of these things matter. And ideally, they begin with strong leadership at the top of an organization, and it filters down, because it's so much harder to do it the other way, where you're trying to do it from from lower levels up. It's just it's not the way the system's supposed to work. So when we have good leadership, organizations thrive.
Yeah, that's congratulations on the book. I'm really
thank you. I appreciate
excited to watch it run, man, and it's making a really positive impact on the fire service. So I think that's one of the most important things.
I appreciate that.
To share your knowledge like that. So you're doing a class here. Well, yesterday you were up there with Shane Ray helping him out with the big box fires.
Yes.
And then today you did a classroom session. Tell me about that classroom session.
Yeah, so today's classroom session was training, teamwork, and why it matters on game day. And it's that the importance of being prepared. Because when the tones drop, the time to prepare is over. And it's what have you done to position yourself to excel on the fire ground when the tones go off. And we talk in the class. I talk about the training lineage, and you think about like, how did you get where you are? Who was your mentor, right? And I talk about that, and I think about who my mentors were, and then I've asked my mentors who they were. So if you were to put this on an ancestry chart, it'd be like we'd go back. We're probably we're descendants probably of Ben Franklin, right? When you think about it, and no one ever says, if I asked you who your mentor was, right? It wouldn't be a slug. Right, because slugs aren't mentors, right? It's only good quality people, and you could build that whole lineage back for generations, and multiple generations. You could probably all the way back to the beginning, the origins of the fire service, and that's the importance of when we say we stand on the shoulders of the giants that came before us. That's what it is. It's that training lineage that enables your organization to thrive and be better than the previous generation, because we all want to leave the fire service better than we found it, which is standing on those giants that came before us.
And that there used to be the idea or the belief that we're in a small department that's in a rural area, and we don't have to train as hard as maybe some other fire departments that are busier. But the one thing history has taught us as of late is that, man, you could be in the middle of nowhere, and next thing you know, you're on the news, right? Like you get a train derailment, you get a wildfire. Planes, there's all these different unfortunate circumstances that happen that can put you from being a small volunteer fire chief someplace in, the middle of the country. Next thing you know, you're on CNN with a microphone.
Yeah, I mean, fatal fires, close calls, they happen in big cities, they happen in little cities. Fire doesn't discriminate, right? The fire is going to burn the same in your town as it is in my town. And the preparation matters. Size is not an excuse to train or not train. Everybody needs to train and prepare. And I think about a couple of months ago, a bus was traveling from Farmingdale, Long Island, right? I live nearby. I'm a volunteer in East Farmingdale. It was traveling to Pennsylvania, and when it was upstate in a very rural area, one of the buses drove off of the road, and they had like 48 people that needed to be transported. And if those firefighters in this rural area didn't take their profession serious, more people would have died. As it was, unfortunately, 2 people died, but they were able to rescue all of the students. 2 of the students were volunteer firefighters in the adjoining communities where I live on Long Island. So it's important to me that those communities train, because there were brother and sister junior firefighters on that bus as well as some of their family members. So that impacts, their training impacted our communities on Long Island. And it's just that whole effect, that it doesn't matter, the bus can overturn, things can happen in your community, and the next thing you know, they're going to be asking you the tough questions. And you want to be able to say, yeah, we train and we prepare for the possible, and this is possible in our area because we have highways, and we have a plan for this.
What advice would you give? So you have some chief officers that are completely tuned in, man. They're training all the time. They're people who are well prepared. They're even, you don't necessarily even have to be well funded to be well prepared. The equipment helps, but the training is what you really are after. Well, what would you say to a young firefighter, maybe a young officer that works in a department where the leadership above them may not be as committed to that training concept? What advice can you give them? Like, how can they train up through the chain of command and get people to move?
So that's a great question, and I'm asked that fairly often, because there is a decent amount of departments that don't have strong leadership. And I say, in 2023, stay learnable is what I like to say. There's on the internet, there's so much training that's for free out there, and then try and get to conferences like this, right? Like VCOS and other regional conferences and the big there's so much. There's so many podcasts out there. Books. I mean, you don't even have to buy a book. You go to a library and get and get a book, or audio books. You don't even have to read. You could listen to them. And there's just so much. Like, if somebody wants to train, don't use leadership or lack of leadership as an excuse to not train.
Right.
Make yourself the best firefighter you can, because by doing that, you make yourself difficult to injure and impossible to kill. And that's what we want to do, right? We want to come home at the end of our shift. And yes, I would like it if every department has strong leadership that values training, right? Because training is the heart of every organization on the planet. It doesn't matter what you do; it is the heart and soul of every organization. And without that, you're not going to be successful. But there's so much today. There's no excuse not to train.
And it's got to start somewhere, right? So, even if you are in a department where it's sluggish to want to move and train, it's got to start with somebody. So might as well be you, right? If you're passionate about training, and yeah, maybe there's some obstacles in your way, but you can certainly, somebody's got to start.
It starts with you.
Yeah.
Personal accountability, and organically others will grasp onto the message, and the next thing you know, you have a movement within your organization, and then you have a training culture and whatever else that you want to do. So if you trained yesterday and you're watching this today, or you're training today and then you're training tomorrow, the next thing you know, you have a training culture.
Right.
And just keep building off of that, right? So the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago. Second best time is today. Start with today and move forward and give your organization and give yourself that training culture that you need.
Perfect. Great words of wisdom. So if you haven't got Frank's book yet, be sure to go out there and get that thing. It's excellent. It's certainly something you want to have on your shelf or in your podcast, or have it's on audio or whatever. Make sure that you have access to that. And this is just an example of the opportunity you have at the VCOS Symposium in the Sun. It's pretty amazing that a lot of times you're speaking in really big rooms, like where there's thousands of people. So the VCOS Symposium is interesting because we have a smaller group. And you get more interaction. You get to see people in the hallway, and they get to talk to people of the instructional caliber of you, which is amazing. So that's not always easy to do. So make sure that, like we always say, if you haven't making plans to attend the symposium next year. The dates are already out there. It will sell out before the program is even announced. So
don't wait.
yeah, you want to be ready for that. So Chief, I appreciate you coming by and spending some time with us.
Thanks so
and
much
being
for
at the
having me.
Symposium. We'll be back in just a little bit at the top of the hour with Britta Horn to talk about the data ribbon report that the BCOS just released. So come back and check us out in just about an hour from now.